Yes, sir. You're now tuned into the #1 hip podcast. If you only knew the half, me and Child.
This little poem is called Acknowledgement. I often read it at the end of poetry readings, but I like reading it at the beginning of this conversation. Acknowledgement. Please, no cheers, no clowns, no advice, or lunging ahead or away. No trying to fix it. No distraction or reckless, knee-jerk projects. No attempting to make things better. Simple dishes of comfort welcomed. Just your company, just being heard makes things better, even when they can't be made right. Thank you for your support. Thank you for listening. When we had started a conversation this morning, that's what I said. A lot of you think it's going to be about wisdom, having information and talking with people, but a lot of times you end up trying to teach people how to listen. People just are not used to listening to each other. They're still preparing to respond, or they've got things going on in their mind, they've got distractions in their lives. I think good listeners are amazing people, and good listening is really a talent. It's like dance or reading a book. It's an activity. It's a human activity that you can perfect and get really good at.
Yeah, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth.
I like that.
I love that line in terms of sometimes we can't fix things, and even if we can listen, and that makes a difference, like to be heard.
So what I got from the poem is basically like you taking things as they come, giving your all, and pray for the best.
What about in the corner, Soldier? I shared some of your story with Scott about 60th and Madison. You listen to a lot of people 10, 12 hours a day.
Yeah, you think your story is bad off, you think you're the only one with problems until you hear other people's problems. So what you try to do is when you listen to other people's problems, you should try to make it as comfortable and lighten the load. And if you can lighten their load for the day, they can take things a little bit easier and not dwell in self-pity, and they can push forward. Yeah, I did my job for the day.
Mm.
Storytelling and trauma go hand in hand. I was born in a small rural place, and when there was a flood or when there was a disaster, the very first thing people would do is go over to a rock or a tree and they would write on there the date and what had happened. Or this is how high the water got, and this is the year and how high the water got during the flood. Or they'd say somebody was killed in this corner and this is his name and how many people were here this day. So I think for me that storytelling and trauma have a relationship. And in some ways that gets into healing too, that being able to have trauma and then be able to talk about the story, make sense of the story, or make the story valuable or helpful to other people is about either the story we tell or the song we sing, whether it's storytelling and singing of songs and dance. It all comes out of that impulse of storytelling.
Yeah, but it don't have to be trauma. It can be good. You can have good stories.
Yeah, absolutely. We hope there's a balance in that.
Yeah, like I think laughter is like the key to everything. It's like sometimes I try to keep laughing to keep from crying.
Yeah.
Just make light of the situation. That's what I learned from Tom. Sometimes you got, and I learned from my coach, Mr. Spencer, sometimes you got to take yourself out of the equation.
Yeah.
And just make light of the situation. You can't just roll around in a pity party and boo hoo hoo hoo.
Yeah.
Why me?
That's why I think we get into editing our stories or editing our art, what we're going to share, the tape you're going to finally release, or the poem you're finally going to put into print. You're both artists. I think that editing it out is what we as artists bring to it, the artistry of asking ourselves, does it really matter? And in life, when I get upset with people, I want to claw at them or go at them. And I ask myself, Scotty, matter? And if the answer is no, it doesn't matter, then drop it, let it go away. It's just not, move on, keep going. Because then it matters. The joy or the thing that's worth sharing is so much more valuable, so much more important. You can share your ire and your anger and the bad stuff if you want, but it's such a waste of energy. It's such a waste of energy.
Yeah.
The invitation to the dance is a whole lot more fun.
One of the things that what I hear you saying, Scotty, is that you can live a life or a life of and.
Yeah.
And there's going to be people we agree with and people we don't agree with. And but that should be and, not or.
Right.
And Soldier is just this is your first time meeting him, Scott?
Yeah, it is. Huh?
When you're with Soldier, you sit here and you have to say, now, what are my problems and what are my challenges? With Soldier, I've learned that a lot of people pretend that they don't see what his challenge is. And that's more of an insult than to be humorous with him about it. And he's got a great sense of humor.
I want to go back to what you said about that. I started with trauma. Soldier actually expanded the notion I put out there. I think he was reminding me that it's not just about the dark things, but the sad things. But where we're both getting to is that writing is about a celebration. Writing celebrates life in some kind of way.
How did you become a poet?
I suspect the first poems I experienced were sitting in a church. I was born in Central Texas on a ranch, and my father was a cowboy, what we call cowboy now. We called him cattleman back then. He owned a ranch, and my mother was very modest. We raised our own fruits and vegetables and meat. We slaughtered our animals. We ate, raised everything we ate. So I was raised probably like more people's grandparents were today. It was very elemental life. And we would go to church 3 times a week. And I suspect hearing scripture in church and hymns in church were probably where poetry began to, the idea of invoking and being able to
And telling
make language powerful.
the story.
Yeah. Bible parables, I love those. I just love it when people tell me stories.
And we not even knowing it, but when we speak, it's poetry. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you come across the words.
I'll share this with you, and I don't often talk about it, but because this is an important, obvious platform to discuss it. I was born in 1952, August of 1952. Now, and this is really relevant to what's going on in our climate right today. Everyone was really afraid of polio, and everybody's afraid to go swimming. They're afraid. They thought that standing water had polio. It's where polio came from. So people didn't want to go swimming. They didn't want to go to the creek. They were really nervous. In the summertime, it was hot, and standing water in August was really a danger. So August of 1952, on a Monday, my mother gave birth to me. We went to the hospital. I was born in a clinic. So August 4th, on a Monday, I was born. Well, that Wednesday, she was diagnosed with polio. So here my mother was with a veteran husband who'd just come out of the war and bought a ranch, was out there plowing a field, trying to make a living in the heat of August, trying to put the seed in so they'd have something to eat for the fall. And she already had a 4-year-old girl and a 2-year-old boy. I was the third child. So in 1952, she gave birth on a Monday and was diagnosed with polio on the Wednesday. So that kind of set the stage for my life. My whole life, the first 6 years of my life, were remembering my mother exercising her legs. We didn't use crutches. She never used a crutch. She used chairs to get around, high back chairs. She would use them like crutches, and she would use them to get out to the car. And then she'd get my sister, my 4-year-old sister, to get the wagon and put my 2-year-old brother in the wagon and drag him out to the car. And she'd figure out how to get them into the car as best she could. And then she'd get the girl to go in the house and get the baby, me, and bring me in the wagon and put me in the car. And then she'd drive to town. And she'd drive to town and drive up in front of the bank. And they'd come outside and say, Joyce is out there with the children. Somebody go out there. They'd go out to do the banking at her window. And then she'd drive over to the grocery store. And somebody'd say, Joyce Hightower's out there. She needs something. They would walk out, take her list, get what she needed. She'd pay for it. They'd bring her change. So she'd go to town, do all her business from the car window with the kids in the car. And so that's where my life started. And because now later she was able to really walk, and she wore a soft brace around her called a chairback brace that had rods that went up the back. So by the time I was 6 or 7, she was able to go bowling and do things again. She was rather, and boy, she was never let a day go by that she didn't take food to somebody or visit somebody. I was raised a very active of love. So it was that diagnosis of polio in those first 6 years, which we didn't know. It was great uncertainty. about the role that our mother was going to play in our lives. And that's where my life started. That was around me. I was brought into the world in a period of terrible uncertainty. Now we became a rather normal family eventually. Took a while. But so I have always related to people in wheelchairs or people that had physical limitations. But I remember also learning the two words vagil, and they're a tree stands still and doesn't get to walk around and get the things it needs, just lives in one place its whole life. And then people get to walk around with legs if they have them and or roll around on wheels. People gather what they need. We move around. We navigate and move around and gather what we need. A lot of creations don't get that. They're in one place and they stay in one place their whole life. So I've always been very aware of that from my mother's polio. And to be kind. I think that it also taught me empathy and kindness. And I think that's where my view, I don't see it as an advantage or disadvantage. I've got a limited set of tools, and Soldier has a limited set of tools. Kathy has a limited set of tools. Tom has his, and we all have a story to tell.
But but don't get the question. You all have the tools. It's all of what you use them for.
Uh-huh.
We all have the tools.
What struck me between the similarities between your growing up, Scotty, and Soldier's, it was so poignant, is how Soldier learned to drive with the sticks and the skateboard and the tape when I first met him. Of course, he's since got more fancy with the devices. But when his car would disappear, his mom would say, "Where's the car?" He said, bam, bam, strap two broomsticks and off he go, gas and brake. And driving with him when I first met Soldiers, how he used his body. So when you talked about your mother and the chairs.
And we all navigate. My daddy liked to ride horses. He was a cowboy. So I always thought he liked to navigate on a horse. And then Soldier went from small car to bigger car. And then now he's navigating the internet. He's getting around. He's going far. He's finding a way, solutions to that moving around, that movement. And I did watch my mom early in her life. She had to move differently than different people. There were muscles that she never had, and so she would use her arm muscles because she didn't have them in her stomach. She moved a little, but other people wouldn't notice that. Other people would say she looked normal and she was just a woman going about her life. But I could see the strain. I could see how she was having to put pressure in another place and how she was moving. And I was very fortunate because I remember looking around. And there were families where people were in wheelchairs and their children had to take them out of the wheelchair and put them in the car, fold up the wheelchair, go and then take the wheelchair out, unfold it, take the person out of the car, help them. But so just say those are just obstacles that you just have to learn how to overcome. What's your solution? How are you going to overcome them?
That's just people think
Be inventive.
the extra weight that I gained is not from fat, but I'm getting bigger up top. As my shoulders expand, I get wider. It's kind of hard to move how I used to move because I'm getting older, and then my weight, my muscle mass is getting bigger and bigger. So it's like I don't have that little same fast movement like I did when I was younger.
Mm-hmm. Do you go to the gym or do you work out or have a regimen to tone your body? How do you take care of your body?
Yeah.
If you had legs, bro, this would be so much easier.
Hey, look, fuck you. Just normal movement. My normal movement is the exercise, but just as well as me lifting weights. That's just add body mass. Like, yeah, how wide my shoulders is now. Like, the more I lift weights, the wider it gets.
I think you know, Scotty, that he broke a record. I can't remember the year, maybe 2007, 2008.
Yeah,
New York City triathlon in his category, swimming, biking, skateboarding. And we're getting in shape for another 5K. You could join us.
Well, the skateboarding, a lot of that I found easy to accept, but swimming, that is your way your body's put together, and your no hands and feet, and like swimming, that's a challenge.
They said that was one of my best events.
So when you said that, I was like, why? Because you could slither through the water? You knew how to move the currents, you said. I think the currents of the East River you mentioned.
Yeah, it's just like when you swim, basically you use a lot of your upper body strength.
Huh.
your core, like your pelvis, the whole nine. I still have movement of my pelvis in a sense, you know what I'm saying? So I use that. That's
Like
what,
a snake, you just slither through the water.
yeah.
That's impressive.
What Tom called it bobbing. Tom,
Bobbing.
he said that I was bobbing in the water up and down. He said I wasn't swimming, I was bobbing up and down. Yeah, it got me to the finish line.
He's a finisher. Would you please welcome Byron, half a soldier, breathe.
But I couldn't have did it without Susie and Steve.
Listen, man, you couldn't have done it without your own head being in one place, and we congratulate you. You're a finisher, you are a triathlete, and you are the pride of New York City. Byron Breeze. You're a main man. Congratulations.
Where did you learn to swim?
I love swimming. I've been swimming since I was little. I love the water. Something about
Your folks took you to swimming pools or creeks? Where did you swim?
yeah.
In Chicago.
Like we traveled. We went to certain trips to Florida and got in the pool, like the hotel swimming pools back in the day. And like growing up, like I used to have to pick food in the farm, in the field. Like grandma said, if you don't get out there and pick your food, you don't eat. And they ain't hold no exception to me. My ass out there.
Soldier, I didn't know that.
My grandmother just got South roots, and we used to go to my grandma. I used to love it, like going in the field, picking your food.
Yeah.
And we got avid hunters in our family that right there hunt deer. But the food tastes different than how it is when it's fresh. Like when it's fresh killed or when it's freshly picked from the field. A lot less preservatives. I don't know what they put in the food today. It make you not want to eat. I'm telling you.
I've learned more from both of you today.
Because like poetry plays a lot into writing hip hop music because saying hooks repetitive, make sure that it sounds the phrases sound like the next phrase, like tit for tat, go black. You know what I'm saying? You got certain word phrases when you write music. It's just like poetry. It's just like
they both have a beat, like a heart, just like a heart. The beat of the heart. That's where it all comes from, right?
If you add light little mellow beat to your poem that you just read with a guitar, see, that's what Tom know how to do. That's what Tom's teaching me now. See, you can make that. You can have your own song right there.
Do you take any of your poems and put them into music, Scott?
I do not. I don't. I know many poets who do that, and a lot of them do it for public performance and things. But I've never done that. No. I would like to I'd explore writing an opera if somebody wanted me to. That'd be fun.
We should
I'm
try.
open to it. I'm game to it. That just never has presented itself. I'm kind of a man and a piece of paper and a pencil. I'm in business. I like the smell of pencils.
It's going to present yourself today, and me and Tom invite you to the lab one day.
Okay.
Yeah,
that'd be fun. We could figure something out.
There are only 12 notes, and I remember my music teacher when I was in high school, when I was going off to make a living in music, he said, now there are only 12 notes. He goes, and you're going to find 5 of them that really work the way you like it. Work them, and they're yours. Soldier writes trap as the style, and to me, it's melodic hip hop.
Trap music is where, say the guys used to be trapped in a house, like an abandoned house or a house where they hustle out of. And they make certain music, like they sit and rhyme. But that's where the music came from.
Okay.
People are trapped in this situation that they got to hustle. So you trapped in this house and you hustling, selling drugs until the police kick in the door. So that's why they call it trap music.
So I would love to do that with you, Scott, and see what we can do with some of your poems. I love your poem that Kathy pointed out. Your wings are clipped through no fault of your own.
Everybody has some limit.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too.
Please, no cheers or hanging or lunging ahead or away. No trying to fix it. No distraction or reckless knee-jerk projects. No attempting to make things better. Just your company, just being heard makes things better, even when they can't be made right.
Mm.
Thank you for your support. Thank you for listening.
And with that being said, thank you for listening to the number one encouraging podcast station. If you only do the half, Scott, Kathy, Tom, I love you guys, man.
I want to hear it.
Now we want to hear it.
No, he wants to hear from the
track,
top.
the track.
He wants to hear from the top.
All for the marbles. Let them know.
My heat be the ways of living in the street. The Nina Raws give cause to break laws when we flaws. Off the red, evil thoughts into my head. I'm supposed to be dead to what the doctor said. But instead, I choose the ways of busting off lead. With the clip that rip the hollow tips in your shit. From my mind to my nine when I hung on crying at one time. I do the hustle on my grind. That seems fine, I do the hustle.
Oh, wow. I could not believe that the song turned out like that.
We hustle in this life, poverty, living life in a wheelchair, injustices, but at night we dream, we walking in the sky, look at us now, no chains, a world we never saw before. Tomorrow ain't promised to you, so dream with us, roll with us.